SA Harvest has raised approximately 1.4 million rand through its 2025 Buckets of Nutrition festive season campaign, supporting ongoing food relief efforts for vulnerable families in Nelson Mandela Bay and surrounding communities in the Eastern Cape. Now in its third year, the Buckets of Nutrition campaign responds to heightened food insecurity during the December school holiday period, when thousands of children temporarily lose access to daily meals provided through the National School Nutrition Program. The Eastern Cape remains one of South Africa's most food insecure provinces, with children among the most affected. Through partnerships with established community organizations running holiday feeding programs, SA Harvest has reached approximately 1,400 families to date. Each food bucket, valued at around 1,000 rand, contains essentials, staples, and basic household items designed to support families during a period of increased vulnerability and reduced household income. Cassandra Potgieter is the Head of Strategy and Marketing for SA Harvest and joins us live now. Cassandra, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. And I'm going to start with what is perhaps a really rudimentary question, but I think an important one. What does it mean to be food insecure?
Thank you so much for having us this evening. And that is quite a heavy question for most people this time of the year, taking into consideration that festivities are at a high. Food insecurity, as described in the SERI report, the Socioeconomic Research Institute's report from earlier this year, is basically not knowing where your next meal is going to come from. So it's not only not eating nutritious food, it's not having anything lined up.
Yeah, and one would assume that even when people have access to food, that oftentimes it still results in cases of malnutrition, because the food that people might have access to, particularly those who are food insecure, would not be nutritious meals. Why was it important for this to be dubbed a nutrition program and to strike the balance right there?
That is a very good question. The thing is most people would consider food security almost to be a handout, where what we aim to do is we're trying to move away from just the mere fact that you're getting food, but we do want to focus on the fact that nutritious food that is a staple in a cupboard that can last for quite some time, take into consideration that a lot of families don't have access to infrastructure to keep certain types of foods. When you start considering keeping peanut butter versus fresh pumpkin in your cupboard, you can make it stretch a very different way. And we work with food nutritional specialists to understand what type of staples we need to include for that to be the case.
Yeah. Let's talk about Nelson Mandela Bay specifically. Why was it important for this campaign to focus on that region?
So we've been working with Daily Maverick in the Eastern Cape region for 3 years, in a row. And what happened was we have noticed that the Eastern Cape region has actually had a more severe impact in child malnutrition than other regions in our country. And this was substantiated with further reporting to the Human Rights Commission late last year, indicating that Nelson Mandela Bay is actually a hotspot, effectively, for child malnutrition.
Yeah. Let's talk about the success of this campaign. 1,400 meals for these families valued at 1,000 rand each is quite an extraordinary feat. And I mean, that's off of the back of having raised 1.4 million rand. But what will it take to completely eradicate food insecurity in Nelson Mandela Bay?
When one takes into consideration that why should people donate when food is being wasted in South Africa? And I'm coming at this with a little bit of a curveball. The reality is that hunger and food waste exist side by side. So an entity like SA Harvest's role is basically to bridge that gap. We will continue to rescue good food, redirect our resources, and make sure that it reaches families through well-trusted and transparent partners who already know their communities. I do think there's a huge element in terms of food security being a shared responsibility, and we all play a role. So community, civil society, the private sector. And I think if we focus on making sure that food keeps moving through trusted systems so families don't fall through the cracks, we'll make a lot more headway than just a festive season intervention, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, South Africa has enough food to feed all South Africans. Why are we falling short of that?
So we don't really have a supply issue. We have a logistics issue. Food is not getting to communities where it ought to. And if we can solve for legislative as well as logistical issues that would keep food in certain regions and in certain systems, we would be able to solve for that. And it's quite a valid frustration, and knowing that annually we throw away, or about 10 million tons of food go to waste in our country, and we have 20 million people going hungry.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. Cassandra Potgieter, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your work. Really do appreciate it. Cassandra Potgieter is with SA Harvest.